Joining me now, John McGuire, House of Delegates member in Henrico. John is a candidate for Congress. His nomination will be decided in a, let's get this right, July 15th drive-by McDonald's-style convention. But this one's not rigged. This is not a rigged convention, it appears, but it's still a drive-by, non-assembled is what they call it. And he'll be with us right now, and his convention will be on July 15th, and he's with us now. Hey, John, great to have you with us, man.
Hey, good morning, John. It's always good to be on your show. And by the way, July 18th will be the convention, and I hope you're right. I hope it won't be rigged. But
why do I keep getting this date wrong? July 18th.
Yeah, July 18th at Meadowbank Park in Doswell, miles and miles outside the district, but, it is what it is.
Meadow Event Park in Doswell?
Yeah, it's right across from Kings Dominion.
Why is it out of the district?
It's a good question. A lot of people are asking, but, you fight the battle you're given, so it's all good.
Yeah, it is what it is, right? Whether it's in, I guess they need a bigger parking lot or whatever, but at the end of the day, who cares? Because it is what it is. And less like the Riggleman camp, people had to drive 5, 6, 7 hours round trip in order to cast a ballot for them. You guys don't have to drive that far, but, it can be pretty far, but you got to get your people out. I want to get to the issues, John, if I may. I want to start with taking these statues down all over the place. Many of them now getting destroyed. Christopher Columbus statue, they destroyed it, took his head off in Richmond, dumped it in the lake. I don't know if that's government property or not, but it is what it is. Other statues getting torn down. Now they're going away on Monument Avenue. What is your position on these statues, John?
Well, I think the First Amendment says it says that we can assemble but it doesn't say that we can destroy monuments. I think these people should be prosecuted. They're destroying history, the American culture. I mean, they're going after civil rights monuments in the country, like the 54th Maine or Oliver Hill, Christopher Columbus. It's not just Civil War. I think it's ridiculous, and I think it shows poor Democrat leadership. Mayor Stoney, Governor Northam, that they just sit back and have the police stand down. It's ridiculous.
If you were in Congress now, it sounds like you would be not in favor of these statues coming down without a regular process, certainly not torn down.
No, it's criminal. I mean, some of these things are works of art. And again, I think that it's a very American thing to protest, but when you're hurting people, shooting people in the back of the head and burning places of business, that's rioting. I'll tell you this, you know who else tears down monuments and erasing history?
Who?
That's ISIS and the Taliban.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that we should keep the monuments around our country. We should keep American history because it shows the progress that we've made as a nation. Mm-hmm. Sure, we started off and we've gotten better and better and better and better. Mm-hmm. And I think that the greatest country in the history of man. So we should teach history, not erase it.
What do you think of this thing called CHAZ, this, autonomous free zone in Seattle? Now they have a list of demands. I had General Robert Spaulding on the other day, retired Air Force. John McGuire, yourself, you served in the military a very long time. You got a little experience here. Spaulding on Friday called it armed insurrection and called on Trump to bring federal troops in to have them evacuate the area. If you were in Congress now, what would be your position on what is going on in Seattle?
Well, there are many ways to serve, and my service is no better than anyone else's, but I had the honor of serving 10 years as a Navy SEAL. Well, I tell you, I'm looking at what's going on in CHAZ right now. Isn't it amazing, John? You did a great job covering the Second Amendment rally on January this year.
Mm-hmm.
20,000 law-abiding gun owners peacefully assembled in Richmond to show their support for the Second Amendment, and they were called criminals. Yet these people in CHAZ came in with AR-15s and forcibly forced the police to leave. I think that, a good leader makes a bad situation better, not worse. And these Democrat leaders around the country are just allowing this to fester. It's just going to get worse. So I support the president and doing what he needs to do to stop this and not let it go to other cities.
So would you be in favor of the president sending the National Guard into Seattle to evacuate these people?
I would say yes. Because the thing is, a bad situation gets worse with time, not better. And you need to set an example quickly because we don't want this going to Portland and then California and then Virginia.
Nashville, right. I agree with you.
Right, yeah.
We're with John McGuire. He's running for Congress in the 7th District for the opportunity to take on Abigail Spanberger in the fall. She's probably the toughest Democratic candidate in a Trump district in America. She has a machine, and she's a very, very adept campaigner. It's going to be a tough race. John's nomination convention will be decided in Doswell on July 18th to see who takes her on. There's several candidates in the race. Nick Freitas is the favorite, and he is going to be with us in about 20 minutes. There's a couple other people in it also that I don't believe are in the hunt right now, but that's just me. Let's get to the movement afoot at the federal level to defund the police. What is your position on that?
Well, if I had my way, I'd double their pay and double their funding for training. Because, let me get this straight. So the Democrats like Governor Northam and Stoney and Spanberger, they want to infringe on our Second Amendment rights so we can't defend ourselves and our property. And then they want to get rid of the police or defund the police. That's how you get chaos, and that's how you destroy the country. Mm-hmm. If our men who leave their house every day to defend us might not come home each day or defund it, and we don't have them, why would your son or anybody else want to be a police officer? It's just the most ridiculous thing I've ever heard, and it's going to hurt them big time in November.
Tell me about your position on, if you were in Congress now, would you be in favor of another stimulus package? The administration is talking about another $2 trillion of, I guess, payouts to people and extending unemployment and things of that nature. Are you in favor of that?
Well, first of all, you can see every time they have a stimulus package, the Democrats show that they care more about their agenda than they do the people that are suffering. You see the $1 million for art centers and everything else, and all these, voting by mail. They don't give a crap about the American people. So I think one of the biggest threats to our country right now is our national debt. So it's complicated. I'd have to see what's in it, what it's about. Mm-hmm. But we want to take care of our people, but we need to get control of our national debt.
Your House of Delegates member, there's likely to be a special session. There's a budget deficit, obviously, right now that Virginia's going to have because it's been closed. So I'm going to get to state politics for a second. Governor Northam not really saying that he's going to open up schools in the fall. I believe he did it simply to hurt job numbers because it makes no sense. 10 people on a school bus is asinine because regular buses are full. If you ride the Tide in Virginia Beach, there's no restrictions there. The Hampton Roads buses have no restriction. But now there's only 10 people on a school bus. You got some rural areas that some kids would have to leave, at 3 a.m. This whole thing is asinine. Not going back to school, no high school football. There's a special session that's coming up, and all he wants to talk about is defunding the police. How's it going to go?
It's just, I've been listening to your show for months during the campaign, and it's just, you do a great job. You crack me up, but you get the truth. You're just calling out these ridiculous policies. I think you're right. I think that they just want to destroy President Trump, and I really appreciate you supporting Trump. But I think this is all part of the Democrat agenda to make sure Trump doesn't get reelected. Because if jobs come back, the economy gets strong, they know that's his greatest strength. So this 10 people on a school bus, asinine, ridiculous, just like you said. I think when liberal governors and mayors they demand that we can stay at home and use social distancing orders, but then protesters don't have to wear masks, they don't have to social distance, and they do whatever they want. It's just ridiculous.
Well, now they want kindergartners to wear masks. Are you serious?
Ridiculous.
You have got to be kidding me. You're going to have 5-year-olds running around in masks? What? What planet is this guy on?
And didn't you hear the WHO said that social distancing wasn't necessarily necessary? Did you hear that?
Yes, they also said that masks were counterproductive, and they actually were not healthy. They didn't recommend them for healthy people, and you should only wear them if you were dealing with somebody that was at risk, like 90 years old, or had COVID-19, that they were actually counterproductive and that they were making people sick. The whole thing is ridiculous. I finally got my son to play baseball this weekend. By the way, he did fabulous. There was probably 1,000 people at this tournament. I saw maybe like 10 masks. It's like 3%. Like nobody cares. And I saw police coming up, and technically we shouldn't be there, right? Technically it's over 50 people. There's 1,000, and there's no social distancing, and there's no masks. So I saw forget what county it was in, Caroline County sheriff come up, and I'm like, okay, well, they would have to arrest 1,500 people and the umpires and the kids and the players. Didn't happen. People are done with this, John. They don't believe it. They're done.
I'm over it. And I think you called it in the beginning. When it first came out, you said it was a farce, it was ridiculous, and it's turning out to be that way. And isn't it interesting that Governor Northam got voted the worst governor in the country for handling COVID-19?
It's the worst.
And it just came out that he's only reporting the positive cases. He's not reporting the negative tests.
Right. Well, that's because they have to stoke fear. And so what the DNC did is they went to him and said, look, you're at no risk. You can't get reelected. Do this for us. And when Biden wins, you'll be Surgeon General. Close down the schools, set an example, because we can't have another jobs report like we did in May. We can't add another 2.5 million jobs. We can't have the unemployment numbers come down. The gig is up. Nobody believes us. They don't believe the media. So the only thing that we can do is shut down schools in all the blue states so that parents can't go back to work. So that's the plan. And if you don't see that, you are blind. John McGuire with us, House of Delegates member, running for Congress in a 4-person, I think maybe there's 5, nominating convention. 2 people, one of them is going to win, John McGuire or Nick Freitas, who's a favorite right now, but he didn't file his paperwork, not good. And John McGuire with us now. That convention will be held, it's another McDonald's drive-byer, and it will be held on July 18th in Doswell. So there you have it. So, John McGuire, let me ask you this. Atlantic Coast Pipeline, it's been up, it's been down, it's been stalled, it's back, and maybe it's back. If you are at the federal level, will you support the Atlantic Coast Pipeline, yes or no, and why or why not?
So I would say yes. I mean, it's progress, and the energy demands with data centers and things in Virginia, we can't get in the way of progress. So I'm certainly supportive. We need the energy. I'm not a big fan of eminent domain, but so I think that people, if they need to take an easement or something like that, they definitely need to pay people very well for that. But yeah, I think that it's something we need. It's part of progress.
All right, so you would be in favor of that.
Yeah.
Now that we've had these protests going on, I'm going to ask you about Atlanta.
Sure.
You served in the military, John, for 10 years. I want you to take this question in the seriousness it's meant. On Friday night, there was a African-American man fell asleep at a Wendy's drive-through. Wendy's calls the police. They do a sobriety test, determine that he is driving while under the influence, DUI, attempt to handcuff him. He resists arrest. He takes one of the officer's stun guns, and so he takes the gun, gets away, and then he's shot. And the police chief resigned, and the mayor has fired that cop, and now he may come under charges for murder or something else of that nature. A lot of people saying, well, you know, you resisted arrest and you took the cop's weapon, probably not the smartest move to make, but he is dead, and now there's more riots going on in Atlanta. You served for a long time, John, as a Navy SEAL. What is going on here? What happened with that?
Well, look, we talked about it earlier. If I had my way, we would double police pay. You would get higher quality people, and I would double the budget for their training, and they would have better training. You know, I got to tell you, the bad moments in police, you know, these events are pretty bad, but it doesn't negate all the millions of things they do to keep our country safe. So there are bad apples in every group, just like there are bad apples in the protesters. There's bad apples in law enforcement. But I do believe that with better training and better budgeting, we'll have less of these situations.
So what was your take on the Atlanta situation?
Well, you know, I've watched the video like 4 or 5 times, and, you know, he was resisting arrest and he was a threat. He did aim a weapon at the police officers, and I think everybody in the United States knows since they were small, you don't do that. So I don't know all the details. I'm sure the facts will come out, but from the little bit that I know, you don't aim a weapon at police officers.
Yeah, I don't think anything good is going to come of that.
No.
That's the bottom line. Look, I don't have the facts, and I'm not in law enforcement, so, but, I know that I've told my kids, if you're stopped, yes, sir, no, sir, and you have to comply, and hopefully you can get through it, but certainly resisting arrest, grabbing officer's weapon, probably not a prescription for a good ending. Again, I can't comment on the outcome of it because I'm not experienced in it. I don't have all the evidence. But I want to thank you, John, for your time. As always, thanks for being with us here on the John Fredericks Radio Network.